The world knew Alexander and Elena Ivanov as royalty without a crown. Theirs was a love story written in the ink of fortune and the parchment of high society. Alexander, the Russian oligarch with a gaze as sharp as the Siberian winter, had built his empire from the frozen ground up, a self-made titan of industry and finance. Elena, his American wife, was his perfect complement, a former gallery curator from Boston, whose grace and intellect softened his hard edges. They were the darlings of Monaco, New York, and St. Moritz, their lives a glittering carousel of charity galas, private viewings, and sun-kissed holidays on their 100-meter yacht. The sincere deception. Theirs was a fortress of love, or so it seemed from the outside. The walls of their London townhouse, a restored Georgian masterpiece in Mayfair, were not just filled with old masters and contemporary wonders. They were insulated by a silence so profound, so meticulously curated, it had its own weight. Elena was the architect of this silence. For 22 years, she had been the patient wife, not patient in the way of enduring a husband's minor foibles, but patient as a deep-cover agent, as a geologist waiting for a diamond to form under impossible pressure. The deception began not with an affair, but with a whisper. In their 3rd year of marriage, flush with the success of his latest acquisition, Alexander had drunkenly confessed to her, his voice a slurry of vodka and vaulting ambition. The world is a chessboard, Lyubimaya, and to win, you must never let anyone see your true pieces, not even the ones sitting across from you. He had meant it as a philosophy, a key to his success. Elena, with the acute perception of one who truly listens, heard it as a warning. She stored it away in the private vault of her mind. The first tangible crack appeared on a Tuesday. Alexander was in Moscow for a quarterly review. A routine email from their art insurer, CC'd to both, detailed a new policy for a recently acquired Basquiat. The attached invoice listed the purchase price, euros 15 million, but Elena, who handled the family's philanthropic foundation and its complex finances, remembered the transaction. The funds withdrawn from their shared art account, an account she had full visibility of, were euros 25 million, a 10 million euro discrepancy, a ghost in the machine. Her heart did not hammer. It grew cold and still. This was not a mistake. This was a footprint. Instead of confrontation, she chose observation. The patient wife began her work. She noticed the new, unlisted Swiss number on his phone that he never answered in her presence. She noted the business trips to Zurich that never appeared on his official corporate calendar. She observed the way his personal assistant, a severe woman named Anya who had been with him since his early days in St. Petersburg, would sometimes look at Elena with a flicker of something that was not quite pity, but close to it. The look a zookeeper gives a well-fed, oblivious creature in a beautifully crafted enclosure. Elena's love for Alexander did not die. It metastasized. It transformed from a warm, living thing into a cold, strategic engine. She began her own secret project, using her access, her intelligence, and a quiet ruthlessness she never knew she possessed. She started mapping the shadow empire her husband had built beside their life. She hired a discreet, ex-MI6 digital forensics expert, a man known only as Arthur. Paying him from an anonymous offshore account she had slowly been siphoning her own household funds into for years. She became a student of her own husband's deception. The picture that emerged over the next decade was staggering. Alexander wasn't just wealthy. He was unimaginably, clandestinely rich. The public fortune, the yachts, the jets, the public companies, was the tip of the iceberg. The bulk of his wealth, a labyrinth of shell companies, hidden trusts, and numbered accounts, was submerged in the dark, cold waters of secrecy. It was wealth he was hiding from governments, from business rivals, and most pointedly from her. The final piece of the puzzle, The one that turned her patient observation into a determined countdown was their children. They had two, Katerina, 20, a fiercely idealistic art history student at Cambridge, and Dmitri, 18, a sensitive soul with a poet's heart and a passion for environmental science. They adored their father, seeing only the charismatic, generous giant who had built them a world of safety and opportunity. They saw their mother as the gentle, slightly distant, cultured anchor of the family. They had no idea they were living atop a financial volcano. The catalyst came on the eve of Dmitri's graduation. Alexander, in a rare moment of familial sentimentality, announced he was setting up trust funds for both children. They will be set for life, he told Elena, kissing her forehead. Everything is in order. Elena smiled, the patient wife's perfect, placid smile. But through Arthur, she accessed the trust documents. They were a masterpiece of legalistic illusion. The children were to receive a generous but fixed annual stipend. The capital, the vast billions of the hidden empire, was structured to flow, upon Alexander's death, into a series of perpetual foundations and trusts controlled by a board whose sole permanent member was Anya, his loyal lieutenant. Elena and the children were, in effect, disinherited from the true fortune. They were being left with the gilded cage, while he kept the keys to the kingdom. The patient wife's patience had run out. The time for observation was over. The time for the harvest had come. Elena's plan was not one of brute force, but of psychological judo. She would use Alexander's own weapons: deception, secrecy, and the absolute certainty of his own control against him. She called it Operation Penelope, after the wife of Odysseus who wove and unwove a tapestry to keep her suitors at bay. Elena, however, was weaving a shroud. The stage was their 25th wedding anniversary. Alexander, flush with a new, secretive deal he had closed in Dubai, decided to throw the most extravagant party London had seen in a generation. It was to be a testament to their love, a public reaffirmation of their perfect union. He gave Elena a blank check. Spare no expense, Dusha Moya. Make it legendary. Elena did not spare expense, but she also wove her own threads into the tapestry. She hired a troupe of actors, not just waiters. She had Arthur create a flawless, closed-loop digital environment for the evening, a Wi-Fi network that was not what it seemed, allowing her to control the narrative in real time. She planted seeds. The night of the party, the Mayfair house was transformed into a crystallized dream. A-list celebrities, titans of industry, and minor European royalty floated through the rooms. At the center of it all were Alexander and Elena, the emperor and empress of their domain. As a string quartet played a haunting Vivaldi, Alexander took the microphone. His speech was a masterclass in performance, jokes, tender anecdotes, declarations of eternal love for his rock, his Elena. The crowd was mesmerized. Elena watched, her smile never wavering. She waited for him to finish, to bask in the thunderous applause. Then, as he stepped down to embrace her, she subtly nodded to a man across the room, an actor playing a Swiss banker. The man approached, his face a mask of grave concern. "Herr Ivanov," he said, his voice low but carrying in the sudden quiet. "A matter of utmost urgency. From Zurich, the Synapse account, it has been compromised." Alexander's face, for a fraction of a second, was a window into a blizzard. The name Synapse was one of the deepest, most secret keys to his hidden vaults. No one should have known it, let alone spoken it aloud in his drawing room. He recovered quickly, laughing it off as a misunderstanding, ushering the banker away. But the seed of doubt was planted. Elena saw the flicker of terror in his eyes. The next act was a call, patched through the manipulated network to Alexander's private mobile. He excused himself, and from the hallway, Elena watched his back stiffen as a voice, another actor, impeccably coached by Arthur, informed him of a catastrophic cascade failure in his Liechtenstein holding structure, suggesting a systemic hack. The party continued, but Alexander was a ghost at the feast. His eyes darted, his laughter was strained. The invincible fortress of his control was showing cracks, and he couldn't find the enemy. The deception was turning inward, feeding on his own paranoia. Later that night, as the last guests departed, the real performance began. Elena found him in his study, pouring a stiff drink, his hand trembling slightly. "Alexander," she said, her voice soft as velvet. "You seem troubled. Was it not a perfect evening?" He looked at her, truly looked at her, and for the first time she did not see the oligarch or the strategist. She saw a man who had built a maze so complex he was now lost in it. "Elena," he began, then stopped, his instincts warring with a sudden, desperate need for an anchor. "There are complexities, things I have had to do to protect us. The Synapse account," she asked innocently. "The Liechtenstein trusts, the one in the Caymans under the name Orpheus." The glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the Persian rug. The sound was like the cracking of the world. He stared at her, his face a canvas of utter shock and dawning horror. She had not just named one secret. She had named them all, the deepest, most protected incantations of his hidden kingdom. "How," he whispered, his voice ragged. For 22 years, Elena had played the part of the beautiful, cultured, slightly naive wife. She now let that mask fall, and what was revealed was not anger, but a terrifying, serene authority. "I am your wife, Alexander," she said, her voice calm and inexorable. "I have been your partner in all things, even the things you chose to hide. I know about the second fortune. I know about the trusts that disinherit our children. I know about Anya's ultimate control. I have known for a very long time." She walked to his desk, opened a drawer with a key she should not have possessed, and pulled out a single sheet of paper. It was a summary, compiled by Arthur, of the total value of his hidden assets. The number was so large it seemed fictional. "This," she said, tapping the paper, "is not wealth, Alexander. It is a monument to your distrust. You built a secret life because you believe, in your heart, that you are alone, that you can only rely on yourself. You have lived a lie for so long, you have started to believe your own family is part of the audience you must deceive." He sank into his chair, a broken giant. "What are you going to do?" The question was not that of a powerful man, but of a caught one. "I am going to give you a choice," Elena said. "The choice you never gave me. The choice you never gave our children." She laid out her terms not as a plea but as a binding edict. The Penelope Protocols. 1. Full disclosure. Every hidden account, every shell company, every secret trust would be documented and transferred to a new, transparent structure. 2. The new trusts. The entire fortune, public and hidden, would be restructured. Katerina and Dmitri would be the sole, equal beneficiaries, with Elena and a neutral international board as executors. Anya would be retired with a generous but final severance. 3. The reckoning. Alexander would sit down with Katerina and Dmitri and tell them the truth. Not the whole, ugly truth, but a version of it. That he had made complex financial arrangements to protect them, but that their mother had ensured the family would truly be united, now and forever. "The alternative," Elena said, her voice dropping to a whisper that was colder than Siberian ice, "is that I walk out of this house tomorrow with our children. I will file for divorce on grounds of fraudulent concealment, and through the discovery process, I will drag your entire shadow empire into the light of every courtroom and financial regulatory body on Earth. I will burn it all down, Alexander. I will burn your legacy to ashes and salt the earth where it stood, and you will be left with nothing but the ruins and the certain knowledge that you lost your family for a pile of money you were too afraid to share." Alexander Ivanov looked at the woman he had been married to for a quarter of a century. He saw the intelligence in her eyes, the resolve in her posture, the absolute, unshakable truth of her power. He had spent his life outmaneuvering ruthless competitors and corrupt officials. He had never imagined his most formidable opponent had been sharing his bed, patiently waiting, learning, and planning for this exact moment. He had lost, not to a rival, but to the patient, profound truth he had tried to bury. He nodded, a slow, defeated gesture. "I agree," he whispered. "The Ivanov family did not break. It transformed. The public still saw a powerful, united couple. But the silence in the Mayfair house was different now. It was no longer the silence of secrets, but a quiet, hard-won peace. Alexander, stripped of his deceptive armor, was a quieter man. He spent more time with his children, his conversations with them now tinged with a new, raw honesty. He came to realize that the weight of his hidden empire was far heavier than the weight of the truth. He saw the admiration in Dmitri's eyes when he spoke about funding a major ocean cleaning initiative, and the pride in Katerina's when he endowed a foundation for struggling artists in her name. It was a legacy that breathed, that lived, that did not hide in the dark. Katerina and Dmitri, after the initial shock, grew closer to their mother in a way they never had. They saw the steel beneath the silk, the titan who had fought for them in the shadows. Their respect for her was boundless, and Elena, the patient wife, finally laid down her burden. She had won. She had secured her children's future and exposed the rot at the heart of her marriage. The love she had for Alexander was not the young, blind love of their early years. It was something more complex, a tapestry woven with threads of betrayal, strategy, victory, and a fragile, cautious hope. They were partners again, but this time on a foundation of terrifying, unshakable truth. She stood with him on the deck of the sincere deception, which she had renamed the earnest truth. The Mediterranean sun was warm on her face. The deception was over. The long game was won, and in the quiet of her heart, she knew that some loves are not destroyed by lies. They are, instead, reforged in the fire of their discovery, becoming stronger and more real than any fairy tale could ever be. 1. The corrosive nature of deception. A lie, especially one sustained over decades, is not a static thing. It grows, metastasizes, and poisons everything it touches. Trust, intimacy, and the very soul of the deceiver. Alexander's hidden fortune was a cancer that threatened to destroy his family from within. 2. Patience is not passivity. Elena's patience was misread as weakness, when in reality it was a form of intense, strategic preparation. True strength often lies in the ability to observe, learn, and wait for the precise moment to act, rather than in impulsive confrontation. 3. The power of knowledge. Elena's victory was not won with weapons or screaming matches, but with information. She understood that in the modern world, data is the ultimate currency of power. She armed herself with knowledge and used it with surgical precision. 4. The true meaning of legacy. Alexander believed his legacy was his hidden wealth. Elena proved that a real legacy is the well-being, values, and future of one's children. Money hidden and hoarded is meaningless. Money used to empower and protect one's family is a true inheritance. 5. Love can be a strategy. The story challenges the notion that love is purely an emotion. It can also be a commitment, a strategy, and a form of resilience. Elena's love for her children was the engine of her intricate plan. Her complex love for Alexander was what gave him a path to redemption instead of utter destruction. 6. The facade is a prison. Living a lie is its own punishment. Alexander, for all his power, was a prisoner of his own secret life, constantly looking over his shoulder. The moment he was exposed, he was paradoxically set free from the burden of his own deception. 7. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Society often values the loud, the flashy, the obvious power. This story is a testament to the profound power that resides in quiet observation, intelligence, and resilience. The most dangerous person in the room is often the one who says the least. This tale of the Ivanovs serves as a stark reminder that the most intricate and perilous deceptions are not found in spy novels, but in the quiet homes and hearts of families, where the stakes are the highest of all. If you found yourself captivated by the intricate dance of love and lies in the gilded cage of the Ivanovs, if your heart raced as the patient wife unveiled her masterstroke, then you cannot afford to miss what comes next. This is merely the beginning. The world is filled with such stories, of quiet vengeance, of stunning betrayals, of loves that defy all odds. We delve deeper into the shadows of the human heart, crafting tales that will haunt your thoughts and keep you turning pages long into the night. Subscribe now. Unlock a vault of exclusive, mind-blowing narratives delivered directly to you. Don't just read a story. Immerse yourself in a world of unparalleled suspense and drama. Your next obsession is waiting. Subscribe today. The greatest stories are yet to be told.